Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spectrum Sessions, the podcast where we platform unfiltered autistic voices and celebrate our differences. I'm Heather from the National Autistic Society Scotland, and today we're here with Lewis Gribben. Lewis, it's so great to have you here today. Would you mind introducing yourself to anyone who doesn't know who you are?
Sure. I am. My name's Lewis Gribben, and I guess I'm an actor. Yeah.
You guess.
I do it. I do it as a
You're
job,
a
I
great
guess.
actor. I watched Somewhere Boy, it was amazing. I like to start off things by talking about sort of special interests because they're just really fun thing to chat about.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing about one of your current interests or sort of fixations?
Fixations. We're. I'm always really interested in like politics and what's going on in the world and stuff. So
Mhm.
like, I'm really fascinated by like the Ukraine war. So like, I watch several videos on YouTube, like articles, reading on it. I don't know, because it's just like this is a modern conflict that's going on right
Yeah.
now, and it's kind of not as talked about in the news as much. So like, I'm just like finding out as much as possible what's going on there and
Mhm.
seeing the you know the aid packages that are going to Ukraine and what's happening in the war. So yeah, probably a weird one, but yeah, I like politics. I like what's current
Yeah.
events, so it's cool to see something like modern history.
You are a BAFTA winner. So
Uh,
let's just start with your BAFTA speech, which I watched. I found it really sort of emotional, really good. And in your speech, you said, "I'm a boy with autism. I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd become an actor." Could you tell us a bit about how you overcame those doubts about yourself, and what you could achieve?
yeah, I mean, it's weird with that kind of stuff. Like, being an actor is very like you always have to put yourself in front of people and impress people all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, the one thing I've kind of learned as I've gotten older and done it more, even though I've done it all my life as a kid, doing it is fun. And then obviously transitioning into trying to make it a career, is just to like always just do it. And even if you
Mhm.
have those doubts and fear, you just try and fuel it as energy to like give your best performances, give whatever, and then leave it. Because as long as you leave everything on the table, even if you have self doubt about how you did on set, on stage, whatever, I would just feel like as long as I am truthful and I give as much energy as possible, then hopefully like people will like it, or like if not, then at least I tried, kind of thing. But I think it was just that thing of like, this is the thing that I'm really passionate about. So like, if I don't do this, I don't know what else I'll do
Mhm.
like as a long term career. Like, so I think it's just that, as much as sometimes I get self doubt, like any creative in this field, I think I just go, what else would I do? And like
Yeah.
and I can't walk away from it, because even if I have times where I'm annoyed or having doubts about myself on a day of filming or on stage or whatever, I just tend to think, yeah, but how privileged we are to even get here. So, and
Mhm.
then just how much I enjoy it. So, I keep going because I love doing it and I love being part of different worlds and stories. So I think I figure out each day and go why I always come back to why I love doing acting, because I find it's cool to be in new worlds and escapism and all that. So um, yeah, I just try and keep moving forward because I'm positive about it and love doing it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. It's great to hear that you really enjoy it. I can see why it'd be such a, great career for you. I think getting involved in sort of storytelling and stuff is like something that's really exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like telling,
yeah.
like being part of different worlds and stories and
Mhm.
meeting so many fascinating people in front and behind the camera, and just like going to different uh countries, like working with different types of people who you'd never meet in ordinary life, or even a normal 9 to 5 job. It's just like, you know it's so mad, like it's a roller coaster, like that can go. You can do the most independent film ever with people who've just graduated, who's like their first feature film, or people who've just gotten into working behind the camera or set, and then you can work with people who are like famous. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's never the same
Yeah,
each
it's super
time.
cool. You started acting at the age of 7, didn't you?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you were also diagnosed quite young? Um,
yeah, but I was about 5. So yeah.
yeah. So I was just wondering what it is that got you interested in acting at the first place at such a young age, and why you've stuck with it for such a long time.
Um, well, I think what I did, which probably a lot of kids did, but I think I did it so much was I would imagine um like different little worlds where if I played video games, I would imitate the characters. I would make little voices up for like games I was playing, and I would talk to my like, imaginary friends, which I think we all, every kid did at one point. But I think I kept doing it all the time and wouldn't interact with other children. And I think my mum realized like I needed to like find a way to socialize and use that energy into something like like productive and stuff because it's hard enough being different anyway with being autistic. So I think she was
Mhm.
like, well, we've got to channel it in some way. So she got me involved into going to youth theatre at the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow. So I
Mhm.
think she just got me involved with that. And then after like again, like other finding other kids who just enjoyed making stuff up and
Yeah.
being in like silly characters' voices, whatever, it didn't matter if you were good or not, just like having that fun and creative freedom was just something that was like, that's so fun. And that escapism just from like normality. So I think that was just something I loved. And then I kept doing it because it really helped with my confidence and that really helped me become better at socialization and speaking to people. And I feel
Mhm.
like, and I enjoy that so much. And it was like in high school, especially like, because I didn't live in my high school or like around the area of my high school. I had to go to a different area, so I had to like get picked up every day from my house, drive to another town essentially where a different high school was. So I didn't like live there based with all the other kids. Um, so like I find that really difficult. So like I think acting was the only thing that helped me feel like I had friends outside of school because like making friends in school was tough, and then going into
Yeah.
drama in school as well helped me socialize because I have bad dyslexia as well. So like
Mhm.
I would have a scribe in classes, so I couldn't really. So I was really focused on my work, and I was like trying to be good at academics anyway, but it just made it like harder to show a personality kind of thing. So acting was kind of
Yeah.
like the gateway to that, and I've just enjoyed that so much as the years have gone on and on and on. Where I'm like, well, kind of just can't think of anything. I tried other things. I tried to be
Mhm.
like do rugby and like cadets, like junior army, but I just
Yeah.
realized like none of them stuck as much as acting. So I just wanted to keep doing it, kind of
Yeah, that's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
oh,
certainly
thanks.
glad you did because you're clearly really talented in it.
Well, I hope some people say so. Some people say so.
Yeah.
I
Um,
try. I try.
yeah. So was being autistic something you would tell your peers back then when you were sort of starting up acting, or did you sort of hide it from them and mask?
I would yeah, I think I'd masquerade. I never
Mhm.
wanted it to feel like it was part of the conversation because I
Mhm.
really felt like, well, we're all pretending anyway, when we're doing it, like anything. So I just always felt like I didn't want to ever discuss it or talk about it. So I feel
Yeah.
like for the lot of the time, I wanted to just be in, the world of that we're all having fun, creating, performing from an early age, and even with like up to like more recently, before I even really I did the BAFTA speech, it wasn't something I ever really was going to talk about publicly or discuss because I never felt like it was relevant
Mhm.
to me because I was just like, well, acting's not you anyway. Even there's extensions of you, but it's
Yeah.
like it was something I never felt was necessary. So I kind of kept it because I felt like it wasn't gonna. I didn't want to be, and also I didn't want to be kind of judged differently. I mean, even because obviously I got it at school and in
Mhm.
primary school, high school. Because even until like college, because people are like growing and developing as they grow up, and they don't understand what that is as they're growing up. So it's not really anyone's fault. That's just what kids are, like teenagers
Yeah.
that just don't understand anything that's
I
different.
know. Mhm.
So they find it weird. So I think for me, I was just like, oh, I want to. When I was doing like acting classes, like outside of school, or even acting professionally for the last few years, I just kind of was like it's not relevant. So yeah, I did hide it. I did hide it and
Yeah.
masquerade it, but
But
um,
that's really
yeah.
common experience for autistic people though. I mean, I think it would be really hard to unmask in school, um,
Mm.
just because of kids can be a bit brutal sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
for
you know?
real. I'm sure we've all had, most autistic people have that experience of being
Yeah.
made fun of because of their weird differences or quirks that make us
Mhm.
unique. So it's just like, yeah, you kind of build that like armor around you to stop it, kind of thing.
Yeah. So following on from that, if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
I don't know. That's a really fun one to say. I'd
Yeah.
probably just be like, if I could go back, I'd probably say, try and become a child actor. Try and become more, trying to become a professional actor quicker, so you can
Yeah.
be further ahead. I don't know. I'd try and go back and tell our mom to like make me an actor quicker. Like tell her to go to like youth agencies, youth agent, and try and get you work quicker so you can get out of school.
Mhm.
So I tell them that in a funny way, but also kind of semi true. But then I'd also just be like, your uniqueness and oddness is actually a benefit to you, and it like will make you it will stand out in a way, and like that your emotions and how emotive you can be is
Mhm.
good, and it will be useful for something. And the panics and weird and worries about fitting in and being judged and all that, it doesn't matter eventually, like because you'll get out of it and realize that if you keep doing this, what we like doing, then it'll pay off. Like
Yeah.
it may not seem like it, but it'll work out. So I'd just be like, I just keep being yourself and but try to become an actor quicker. That's the only thing I would probably tell them different.
Next question is, who is the most influential person in your life who helped you become who you are today?
Um, there's a few people, to be
Mhm.
fair. I guess with my mum, kind of influenced me in the sense of like she was very like supportive and let me go and pushed me to do what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
and never quite. Even though like obviously if you say to anyone like, "Oh, I want to work in the creative field," a lot of the time they just look at you and say, "Are you really sure? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Like, get a backup plan, get like that B job, like do
Mhm.
engineering, do construction, do something where you can have a stable income." And that's always a thing. But she just really felt like I could do this, and believed in me, and just said, "Well, if it makes you happy, then you should go for it, and wherever you go, like, well, I'll support you and stuff." So she's been influential in letting me keep paying for the theatre classes when I grew up, and
Mhm.
doing it for so many years, like youth theatre and stuff. So that was quite encouraging. And then I've got a good actor friend called Chris Riley who, over the last few years, helped me develop my skills better. And we did auditions with me. Was in the same agency as me, and he really helped me get better at my technique outside of uh, going to university and college, because you're still quite green from doing that kind of stuff and then going into the
Yeah.
professional world and doing recorded auditions. So he really helped me and found ways to unlock my skill level to get it hopefully better than what it used to be. So I'd
Mhm.
say him as well.
How do you feel that being autistic affects your acting? Because I was thinking about it a bit, and it must make some things more difficult and other
Hmm.
things a bit easier. That's what I would imagine anyway.
Yeah, I think with anything like, I mean, obviously, I think we are quite people with autism can be quite perfect, like high strung, and
Yeah.
but we can be very coordinated, determined at one, two things. Like we're very good at the things we want to do and focus at and be good at
Mhm.
it. So that it helps with that, like kind of dedication to like learning lines, to learning the different skills that you need for any different parts, whether it be like, oh, you're a firefighter in this, so you got to learn how to do these drills. Oh, you're a soldier in this, so you got to march like that. It makes
Mhm.
like everything associated with the job you become good at. So you pick up these skills that you just learn inherently, and
Mhm.
because you're so determined, because so like because a lot of people would say people with autism are very soul focused on the things they want to do. So that kind of stuff is really helpful. And I think
Yeah.
also just I think the emotionalness and the vulnerability, and I feel like I'm very emotional people,
Mhm.
which can
Yeah.
definitely help for like, sadness, anger, extreme, more like outward emotion and doing that kind of stuff. And I think like, but obviously the other difficulties is just doing more subtle stuff and like you're saying one thing but feeling another. That's something that I think in everyday life that it's so confusing
Yeah.
when people say one thing but mean another and you take it at face value. So doing that in acting is something that is tricky, but
Yeah.
definitely for stuff that's outward emotion and taking from your life and putting it into a character and channeling it. I think that it's a big benefit having autism and stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's really interesting to hear how it sort of can help, um, with your acting.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
What's been your favorite job so far and why?
Ah, God, there's a couple. I mean, I'd say like the two that I come back to, which is what the ones you mentioned
Mhm.
before, which is like I really like to get in terms of just having fun and experience and just it being utterly mad and crazy. It was probably Get Juked in sense
Yeah.
of like there's four boys just running around doing mental stuff with rabbit hallucinating drugs,
Yeah.
fighting old people that want to kill you. You play like well, I played like the most stupid one out of the four, and that's really fun because you just don't have to think. And I'm quite good at
Yeah.
switching off my brain sometimes. So like I was like that was fun, and then just the rowdy and the chaos of having four young guys together and the madness that ensues with that, running up highlands and like girls' wellies with like bags and just snorting like soup powder, like powdered soup and all that. It was just a weird, mad job and but fun. I never felt,
Was
even though it
soup
was like, huh?
was it soup? Powdered soup you're
Yeah,
having?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. It
Oh,
genuinely was
no.
powdered soup. So it was like chicken or like corianders or like vegetable or something. And it was awful because like I
Yeah.
remember I had to douse most of it in my mouth and I got really dry and there was no water anywhere. So yeah,
Oh,
but I went a
no.
bit mad and had like I doused all of it even after the scene. But it was hilarity. It was fun. And then
Yeah.
um, Somewhere Boy for me in terms of like where I had to push myself emotionally and I was in that accent that because it was like set around Yorkshire, Leeds, like Northern
Mhm.
England, and just staying in the accent the whole time and allowing myself to feel all the vulnerabilities in my own life, putting it into a character who I felt was, somewhat similar to me, and then obviously bits that aren't, but like finding someone who I felt like, oh, there's so much of me that I can find in this person, and then putting it into that, feeling all that emotion and vulnerability, finding the wonderment and the beauty of difference of the world, which autistic people are anyway. So it was just
Mhm.
like that helped so much with that character. So that was it, even though it was hard at being that vulnerable and open and having like a very dark story where you're kept in the house for 18 years and your whole life's a lie, sort of thing. It was a joy to explore, and actually, it was quite therapeutic because I felt like I got a lot of the past traumas into a part. So it was a good form of therapy,
Yeah.
and it worked out obviously because I ended up getting the Scottish BAFTA, which was nice.
Mhm. That was amazing, yeah. You've actually answered pretty much my next question, which was, how you related to Danny in Somewhere Boy, because obviously he's like an outsider, he
Hmm.
doesn't really fit in, um,
Yeah.
and one of the scenes that I found really emotional was actually in episode 3 when Danny went to, like, a pub with some of his peers, and they were
Hmm.
just, like, calling him a weirdo and stuff, which a lot of autistic people can relate to, being called names like that in the past. So the question was, do you feel that being autistic helped you to relate to Danny's character while filming? Is there
Yeah.
anything else
I
you wanna
mean,
say on that point, or
yeah, of course. Yeah, it did because there's elements of that of him,
Mhm.
and it's just that kind of naivete and desire of wanting to feel a part of something but not knowing how. Like the idea of like his vulnerability and the bit I really related to was in episode 7, weirdly, where it was like he finds his first love and has
Yeah.
his first like intimate moment,
Mhm.
and he has this relationship but obviously it's not a relationship. It's just a fling sort of thing to
Yeah.
the other person, and just that thing of like, oh, just wanting to belong to someone and yearning
Mhm.
to be part of something. And that even that was just like, God, like I've felt like that growing up
Uh-huh.
and, wanting to feel not also just normal, but also wanting to be in a relationship and wanting to have that kind of intimacy or like that
Mhm.
kind of partnership with someone. And just so even that like was so relatable to me. And even though it was different kind of thing, but it still was similar enough to relate to. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just that whole thing of like how many people probably feel that, even not just autistic, but just people who just
Mhm.
lonely or weird or just trying to fit in but not knowing
Yeah.
how. It's just it was very yeah, it was very relatable in a way.
Mhm. How would you feel about portraying an autistic character in the future? And is that something you're actively looking out for in terms of future roles?
Um, it's a weird one. A part of me does, but then a part of me is also like such a broad, expansive spectrum that
Mm.
there's so many elements of it. And obviously, I think there's a lot of difficulty in doing it right and authentically. And it's one of those things that it's weird because a part of me would like to explore it more to bring awareness, but at the same time, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of it shown.
Mhm.
And I can only think of like the A Word or this film called X and Y that have really shown, or like Rain Man, I guess,
Mm.
that really showed it. But I would say like I would like to at some point, but at the same time, it's weird. It's strange because acting's all about escapism. So I feel like to go back to something that's very too close is like, how would I do this realistically? Because maybe I'd be over analyzing it and overthinking it, and like, oh, I should have showed this, this, and this kind of thing,
Mhm.
like element of what that spectrum is. But it would depend on the project and the writing and depending on if they want me to audition or if I got the part or they just wanted to offer me it or all those kind of elements and finding how is it like my kind of autism? Is it varies? Is it sensory? Is it more
Mhm.
non-verbal? Is it a different type?
Yeah.
So it's a part of me does want to do it at some point, but
Mhm.
it's not something I'm actively looking for. But if it came up and I thought the writing was good, and I felt like I could do something good, interesting with it. And if
Yeah.
they allowed me to do it, depending on if they wanted me to audition or not, then
Mhm.
yeah, I would be open to it sometime in the future.
Cool. Yeah, you made some really good points there. Um, I can imagine it would be quite difficult portraying a character that's so close to who you are yourself. Um,
Hmm.
or sort of you have to portray things that you've sort of had to deal with in the past. It might be difficult,
Yeah,
or even triggering to sort of act. I feel like that's a really good
y-
point I didn't consider.
yeah, of course, because it's just like if you have to just go through the awkward painfulness of your own condition
Mhm.
on screen or stage or whatever, then it's like one of those things you're like, oh, it would be easy in one way to get into it, but then hard to relive. So you're a bit like
Mm.
this. It's a bit traumatic, but
Yeah.
I could, who knows? It depends.
Yeah, I suppose also if there was people sort of, like people on Twitter trying to make fun, it would feel more
Yeah, yeah,
personal,
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah. Yeah.
it? Yeah.
But that's
Um,
Twitter in general. Twitter always find ways to, or people on Twitter always find ways to mock or like dislike something and just openly say it. It's just an echo
mm,
chamber. But yeah, just
yeah.
ignore that kind of stuff. Or I would anyway.
Yeah. That's good. What would your dream role be? And is there a movie series or story that you'd love to be involved in?
There's a few. I mean, I've said it before that I would love to be involved in Star Wars in some shape or form because I
Oh,
just think
cool.
there's so many infinite possibilities in that world and that galaxy and stuff like that. And there's so many stories and so many ones that they could where directions they could go, film, TV. So it'd be great if I could do anything in that world. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a big part or anything. Just could be like a one day job part or small scene, whatever. But I'd love to be involved in that universe. And Also, I just would love to do a war film. I would find that I was always interested in military history and history growing up, and even current conflicts with wars and stuff. So I think it'd be really cool to do. Like I remember like watching. I remember auditioning for 1917 and being like, it was a really small part, but I remember just being like, God, like watching the film, loving it,
Mhm.
being really immersed, and then that scene came up, and it was like, oh, and it took me out of the film because I was like, oh yeah, I could have
Oh,
been in that.
yeah.
But a war thing would be great because just even the physical training, the drama. I had a tiny part in this thing called Masters of the Air for
Mhm.
Apple TV, and that was just me in this World War II bomber plane shooting at blue screen, and it was imaginary German planes
Yeah.
flying around me. So I'd like to do something where it's like proper, like in mud trenches, World War One, doing the training, learning how to work with the weapons, and
Mm.
dealing with maybe the PTSD that those guys felt, or like the camaraderie that they all felt to get through that kind of stuff. So yeah, Star Wars or either high fantasy or grimy war would be cool.
Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
One's total make believe, don't have to like, and one's proper like, yeah, loads of people died, and
yeah.
you could be one of them, but and that could be a
Mm.
real person. But it would be fun to delve into if I ever get the chance.
Yeah, that sounds really I don't know. I feel like it would be really interesting sort of doing those sort of roles, especially with the war film, thinking
Mm.
about, trying to represent PTSD and stuff. I feel like you'd be quite good at that sort of thing with what I saw in Somewhere Boy, you were really, really good at, like, the really emotional scenes.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I've got a very like haunted face, I've been told, and I look very scarred a lot of the time anyway. So probably those parts would be all right. So maybe
Mhm.
I could do half a decent job at that.
Yeah, I saw as well that you were saying you're fed up of getting cast as, like, drug dealers or whatever because of your sort of hair.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I like buzz cuts to be fair. Like yeah, I mean, because of like I went before Summer Boy. A lot of the stuff I got cast in was like crime dramas, like
Yeah.
Jetland and Chemistry of Death and this thriller thing called Deadwater Fell, and it was a lot of like me either being a drug dealer, my
Mm.
dad is I'm a suspect, or like my dad, I've got dad issues. Most of the parts I've got seemingly have dad issues, which I don't know if that says anything about me or my like relationship with my own dad, but yeah, it seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah. So if you could change one thing about the acting industry, what would it be?
Oh God, so many.
You can say more
Oof.
than one.
Yeah, there's a few. Let me think. If I could change, well, I would try and get a lot more stuff. I'd love, on a personal level, I'd love there to be more diversity in terms of stuff made here, in terms of
Yeah.
kind of stories, because I do feel like in Scotland we are primarily, in terms of TV anyway, it's primarily crime dramas and stuff, and
Mhm.
it's just like there's so many you can make, and it's just like it's like, oh yeah, they're murdered. Oh, this one's about in the 80s. This one's got a woman as the lead, or this one's about burn victims, or this one's about accidental deaths. And it's just like, can we make something that's just not a crime drama? Like, there's so many interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much interesting stuff you could make in Scotland that doesn't have to
Mhm.
be a crime drama. Like that's when I watched Mayflies 2 years ago, and it was so refreshing because it was all about like these two older guys, and one's got cancer and wants to go to Sweden to die by assistant suicide. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
thank God, a story that's not about. It's still grim, but it's not about someone getting murdered. So
Mhm.
I'd like that to change. I'd like Scotland to make more comedies or just more interest, like I don't know, just different stuff.
Yeah.
So I changed that, and I don't know, I'd also just really like there to be more funding. I'd like there to be way more open funding for films or TV or theatre, like to be made in Scotland. Because I feel like there's such a little small pool of ways to make content, films, TV, theatre, whatever. And I
Mhm.
feel like there needs to be just more schemes, more open scholarships, more ways of making new and original content without going through like creative funding and it taking years and stuff like that, unless you've got these big producer connections or So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like there to be more ways for Scotland to get more unique stories told and not necessarily have to go through the same gatekeepers all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, that
Just stuff
makes
like that.
sense. So my next question was gonna be about whether you've seen any good autism representation in TV and films, or if you had any recommendations, but I think you already mentioned a couple before.
I mean, yeah, I would just quickly say again, like X and Y is a great film.
Mhm.
I think that's genuinely because it came out in like it's got Asa Butterfield, I think his name is, and he was in Sex Education, and
Alright.
he's it's a film he did when he was a lot younger, and it's so good, and it's about this autistic kid who joins the math Olympics or something like that, and then there's this really good scene because there's another autistic character in the film, and there's a really great scene about this guy who doesn't make the cut or something. I don't want to give too much away, but
Right. Okay.
it's a good story. It's a good it's a good like weird romantic film that has an autist that has just happens to have an autistic lead or at least lead
Mhm.
autistic character in it, which makes it really interesting. And then I would also say, yeah, Rayman's really good. Dustin Hoffman was great at that. That was like probably the first well-known
Mhm.
representation of an autistic character. So those are the two that spring to mind. But there's not too. There's not enough. There's really generally not
Yeah.
enough
Have you seen
stories.
Dinosaur yet?
I have actually. I
Yeah,
did see
it's
that,
so good,
yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually fairly enjoyed it. It was very
Mhm.
well, especially with like female autistic lead character. I don't feel like that gets
Yeah.
talked about enough. And she, I can't remember her name, but I know she's like the
Ashley
daughter of.
Story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That she's Ashley's like mum's a comedian and stuff like that, and she helped write it and develop it. I think so. It was a good story. It was funny. It was very unique to what autistic people go through, and especially from a female standpoint. But
Mm.
it felt well written. Yeah,
Yeah. I thought it was quite good representation. I
definitely,
enjoy seeing
definitely.
it set in Glasgow as well. You
Oh,
don't see
100%. It
too
was so
much getting
unique to
set
see
there, yeah.
that and very refreshing as well.
What's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
Um,
It's a difficult one.
I know. I feel like I'm not that interesting outside of acting.
I'm sure
Um,
that's not true.
I guess not. But I mean, I go gym. I do gym. I've been doing that for the past like for the last month or so. I don't
Mhm.
think people would expect me to do gym because it's like again, it's like one of those weird, noisy, mad environments,
Mm.
and it can be quite uncomfortable. But I do that. So like I'm enjoying figuring that out and trying to get fitter and live uh, on a like a fitness app with like how much protein I need to get and like how many
Mm.
calories. So I guess that would be interesting. I don't know if people would like that. And then I'd say what was the other thing? Just really like video games, like playing video games in my spare time a lot.
I'm the same, you
Like,
know?
oh, for real. Like
Yeah,
I just
really.
I love there's this new game that just came out. I can't remember the name of it, but it only came out like two
Uh-huh.
days ago and I really want to play it. And I've like played like every generation of PlayStation from PS1 to PS5 right now. So
Right.
big gamer, big gamer. Don't get obviously as with acting and just life stuff in general as well. Like
Mm.
you don't always get the time, but I enjoy gaming when I can.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm more into the Nintendo side of things. I play
Fair.
that like all the Nintendo games, but I've also got recently a Steam Deck. Have you seen them yet?
No, what's the Steam
It's
Deck?
like it's like a Nintendo Switch, but it's like a portable PC rather than a Nintendo system. So it's like
Oh,
the same
okay.
shape as a Switch. It's got like a screen on it, and then it's
So
got
you can carry it around and play it
yeah, you
wherever
can
you
carry it
want.
around, but it's literally a PC, so you can just get like PC games down on
That's
it.
crazy
It's really,
cool.
really cool, yeah.
Mad. I've been thinking about getting a Switch though. My partner's into Nintendo Switch a
Mm,
lot more than I am, but yeah, just a PlayStation guy. That's just
PlayStation.
what
What's your
I've been
favorite sort of
into.
PlayStation game, do you think?
Oof, now you're asking. One of my favorites is the Mass Effect trilogy. Like
Oh,
I've played those a
nice.
few times. They're good sci-fi, kind of like you make the character however you want. You customize them. You can make them good or evil.
Mm,
You get it's like galaxy again, kind of like Star Wars, very sci-fi-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those ones.
Alright, we should probably get back on track even though it's so great talking about video games with you, but,
100%, yeah.
what's the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Um, God, what's the most important lesson? Everything can be solved, and no matter how, even though how much panic you're in right now, or worried about something, it can all be done. Everything can be resolved, and even if it feels right bad right now, it can be fixed. I'd
Mhm.
say that.
Yeah,
Living in the
that's a
moment, trying
lovely
to live
one.
in the moment and not
Yeah.
worry about like, oh my God, like all I mean, even if it's stressful in the moment, just always be like, take a moment and be like, oh, it can all be resolved. Like I
Yeah, and
always
it'll
think
all be
that.
okay. Mhm.
It will all be literally all be okay. Even if it you just need to have that moment of like, oh, like man, breathe and then realize, okay, plan it, how you fix it, and then try and
Yeah.
live day by day. Like don't try not to think too far into the future.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really nice way of saying it. Um,
Mm.
what goals have you got for your life, or what ones are you pursuing at the moment?
Um Well, the goal is to always just hopefully keep doing from career wise, just to work as much until I hopefully until I die. That would be the hope, is just to do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's my goal with performing anyway. Or just to keep just to do it and then live happily with that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And then other goal is probably just to get back into reading more. I used to read a lot, and now I tend to go into audiobooks.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to read more in times like always feels like life is so like noisy and messy, and we've got so
Mm.
much to do, even if it feels like you don't or you do, and then you so trying to get back into reading more. So I'd say that.
That's great. Yeah, have you got any, like, audiobook recommendations or anything?
Uh, Yes, there's this great one that I go back to every now and then,
Mm.
and it's the Jeanette McCurdy story. I don't like it depends if you've
Yeah, I've
watched
read it.
iCarly. Oh
I've read the
yes,
book. I love
yeah.
it.
Well,
It's amazing.
I read the book and liked it so much that I downloaded the audiobook and then listened to that. So
Mm.
I would recommend. I'm glad my mum is dead. If
I
you
think it's I'm
have
glad
not
my
heard that
mum
story.
died, but yeah,
Something
it
like
was
that,
really,
yeah.
really
My
good.
mum. It's a really, really good story, so I would highly recommend that if you're
Mhm.
interested in what it's known to like. For a child actor who didn't want to do it, never wanted to do it, but was forced by their mum because she wants to live for her child. It's a really good book.
Mhm. It was amazing, yeah. It was really interesting because obviously, I had no idea, like, I watched iCarly growing up because I was sort of at that age,
Same.
and I had no idea that all that stuff was going on in the background.
Yeah, 100%. You just never thought. You just it's so mad that the person whose character is always like trying, who's always eating, really
Yes.
starving herself because her mum was trying to make her
I
skinny
know.
as possible,
Mm.
which is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, great book though. Absolutely. So, what is your favorite thing about yourself?
Um, God, I'd say I feel like I don't take I take the work stuff seriously, but I don't really take
Mhm.
myself seriously because I realize like what we I do or is just like dress up, play pretend. I'm just like I'm an adult who refuses to be fully mature. Who so gloves for acting as a vocation of acceptance. So I just
Right.
realized that just like, I don't take myself too seriously. I mean, I don't think what we do is really cool and fun, but
Mm.
it's not life changing or anything like that. And then I just think like, just treat everyone. I like to think that I like to think I'm grounded enough to be like, everyone, regardless of your position on acting thing anyway, like whether you're like an extra director, whoever in something, I will hopefully come across as a nice enough person to
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, cool, like happy you're here, whatever you're doing, and just be like, that we're all doing the same goal, regardless of who you are, and like how big and important you are, or how
Mhm.
small you are in something. I don't care. Like I think everyone's. if you get in, then you're like you're meant to be there for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm,
I would say I like that. I don't that like I try and be like a nice person, and
mm,
I like that I think I like to think that my own form of like my own kind of therapist in a way. So like I'm
yeah.
very good at like talking about like emotional stuff and very good at like analyzing stuff about my life or other people's lives or like what wondering because I think if I didn't become an actor, the only other thing I'd love to have done was be an entertainment journalist, but like a really good entertainment
Oh,
journalist,
cool.
not like the ones that's like, oh, tell us funny things or oh, like
Mhm,
what would you wear that? I'd be like, no, I'd really like the sit down interviews where people really talk about people's like mental health, their emotions,
mm,
and what they go through in their careers, regardless of whatever they do. I'm just fascinated by people. So like, I think I'm a good listener in the sense of like I like finding out what people's struggles or their emotions or motivations are with anything. So
mm.
yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a really good trait to have. Mhm.
Yeah, just listen. Being a listener in general is just a great thing
Yeah.
because it's like it's a good life skill
Mhm.
just to listen and know what people are like and just not listen to yourself sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're on to the final question now. And for the final question, I wanted to go back to your BAFTA speech. You
Mhm.
dedicated the speech to all the outsiders and anyone who feels like they don't belong. What would you say to those young autistic people today who are growing up feeling like they don't belong?
Um, just embrace your uniqueness and individuality because you should, you know, why be like everyone else when there's only you? You can only be yourself, and you should just, you know, find your tribe of people. Find two people who are like-minded or interested in the same things, and it's okay to be different. And it doesn't. At the end of the day, if you feel if you're in I don't know whether you're in high school, college, university, job, whatever, realize that it's only a factor of your life. It's not doesn't
Mhm.
dictate who you are, and you should just really find people that are into the same things as you, embrace it, what's unique about you, and accept that if the people that don't like that, you know, that's fine too. But find people, but just always be open and just be yourself, and yeah, just be yourself because at the end of the day, life's hard enough. So don't be hard
Yes.
on yourself.
Oh, that's a really nice way to end. Yeah, it's a great message for the listeners.
Mm,
Um, but it's been so great chatting to you, Lewis, and getting to know you a wee bit. Thanks so
no
much for
problem.
coming.
Yeah,
Um,
no
yeah.
worries, Heather. I really enjoyed it.